Welcome to the Monopoly Mindset, the podcast where we uncover the strategies to build your real estate portfolio one property at a time.
We're your hosts, Tyler and Tommy, here to share our story of playing real-life Monopoly.
Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, this is your go-to resource for mastering the real estate game.
So grab your board, roll the dice, and let's buy Boardwalk together.
Welcome back to Monopoly Mindset, episode 28. We're one day late. We had a very, very busy week, a lot going on between what Ty's got going on with his primary residence, which he'll get into here in a little bit. And I had a pretty busy week with real estate. And on top of all that, we're getting into football season. So Ty and I both had some fantasy drafts for the last couple of days, and they take a couple minutes of our time as well. So we're looking forward to getting this episode going.
Yeah, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot because before we released the podcast, we had 5 episodes saved, like banked, and then we did our first guest, and we were like, "Hey, your episode will be out in like 5 weeks," and we kind of felt like that was super late to like release, so then we like purposely were like, "All right, let's not save 5," and we went the opposite direction where we had 0. So yeah, we missed a week, but we're gonna go back to saving like 1 or 2 at least. But
Yeah, I was talking to David Bull about that a little bit, and Mike Martin. They were basically saying 100%, you got to have 2 to 3. They were surprised our episode went out as soon as it did. And
yeah.
it takes a lot of stress off Ty. He's been our back end support. He pretty much edits and submits and posts all of our podcasts. And he needs a little bit more time too to turn these things around and do all the editing.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, we're gonna do another episode of Pass and Go. I know Tommy's had a lot going on. I've had a ton going on, but maybe not as as interesting stuff to talk about. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you. You can go ahead and tell me because I don't even know about your last week at all.
Ty's been living through a lot of renovations, which I think feels in sweat equity. It feels like he's not doing a ton, but I'm trying to tell him that he's doing a lot. And when these repairs are done, he's going to have his old primary as a rental property. So he's working towards a lot of things. He's just living through it and spending time, at the other house and painting and like kind of tough to live a life in 2 houses. So he's going through it, but he's going to make a ton of money when he's done. So it'll be worth it.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about it. I'll share when I go. But
overall, I was pretty pumped. I had a pretty busy week, and I know we were talking last week about me trying to get tenants for Woodlawn, and luckily I was able to get tenants. Pretty much the solution I had 3 months ago of trying to get certain kids to move from house A into house B, they didn't like it because the house wasn't renovated at the time. And so once the house got renovated, I was able to re-show them the house, and they decided that they liked it and wanted to move out. And we had some things at property B that needed taken care of from the previous tenants that were there, and we've tried getting it cleaned up and taking care of some of those issues. But I mean, one of them is like we just have been getting a lot of rain in that area, a lot of water in a basement, and we had a bedroom in the basement, and wasn't a big issue the first several years that we owned the property, but since the back mountain area is getting a ton of rain, it's just became such a headache of getting water in a basement, and it's not something you want to be dealing with when there's bedrooms down there. So we're really adamant, like, hey, can you guys just check this house out one more time? And they decided to take a look and liked it. So with that being said, I did make a couple of concessions to try and help this process. I think both parties get to win. The tenants are going to get a nicer house. I dropped the rent to the $1,800 that Ty and I talked about in last episode. So I appreciate Ty kind of giving that call out of like, hey, why don't you just drop it to $200 and see how you can make out. So we were able to do that. Luckily for us, the kids needed some appliances, and it was the Labor Day sale. I was able to take advantage
I
of
did the same thing.
What? Yeah.
I did the same thing on our new house. We got like all new appliances on for pretty good price.
Yeah, we did. I think we did the Memorial Day sale a couple years ago when Sarah and I moved into this house, and we got, all the discounts. And so we did the same thing. I was going to have the appliances delivered on Sunday, but the kids couldn't get the electricity turned on until today, Monday. So I'm going to have it installed later this week on Thursday.
Random question. Did you do Home Depot or Lowe's?
Lowe's.
Did it give you an option to pay for installation? Because like all of our appliances didn't give the option to even pay for it. So I don't know if that means they're not installing it or if install is free with the purchase. So I guess I'll find that out. But
I had the same question, so it looks like we both went with Lowe's. And yeah, there were some that I could install, and that's why I wanted to wait until I had electricity there, because they're going to show up and not be able to complete the install.
yeah,
But there are a couple appliances that we weren't able to do that with. I don't know if they're easier to install, like the stove. I think you just plug it in. Like I don't really
yeah,
think they said,
yeah. Because like some of them were like $200 install fee, but then other ones were just like how to prepare for your installation, but it didn't give you the option to pay for it. So I'm hoping that that means that the install is free, but I don't know.
yeah, I'm
Like
with
that,
you.
like in my mind, most people don't know how to install a dishwasher or they're not going to do it. So I don't think that they're going to sell a dishwasher, especially Home Depot, Lowe's. Like they're so commercialized, then they're hitting like your average person that I don't think they're just going to drop it off at your front door. But I could be wrong.
Think companies over time have gotten worse and worse with their customer service in some aspects. Like to your point, we would expect these companies to install and do all this, and then at the same time, they don't want extra liability because of people getting sued and responsibilities. So then they're retroactively saying, you know what, we're not going to handle this, we're not going to handle that, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like today.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know next week.
Yeah, well, mine's Thursday, so I might let you know even sooner how it goes. I think with the kids moving, to help out with everything that they had to kind of deal with in that point, they're in the middle of camp. I gave them a month of free rent, which Ty probably say shouldn't have done. But I think they were really helping me out. I think Ty and I talked about it in the past that there was a level of stress I was starting to have about this property because at the end of the day, it was supposed to be either, it was supposed to be a college rental. And if I got a family in there in September or October, I would have had to wait until October 1st of the following year to kick that family out, and it would have been too late to start the school year. And now I'm looking at 2 years of not having this property as a student rental, which I want it to be. It's they're moving 4 kids in there at the moment, and I got to find a way to. There's a lot of space in there. Something I'll show Ty. I got to add a fifth bedroom, and like they have one room's almost like an office. I'm thinking about adding a closet to it to like make it officially a bedroom. So there's some space in there. Like I said, I'll talk with Ty about it. But now it's like a future goal of like next year I want to get the 5 kids in there and I'll create the way to make the fifth bedroom. But at least I was able to get kids in there for this school year and I don't have to worry about next year at all. So for me that was a win. So I was very happy that the kids were able to reaccommodate and get in there. One of the kids is a little bit taller, so I have to try and raise the shower head, was also part of our agreement, just to try and make sure. So I'm either between like one of the showers that kind of falls from the ceiling, if that can work in there. We're just raising the shower head like the highest that I can in this specific shower.
Yeah, I mean, with all real estate investments, there's like a stabilization period, especially with short-term rentals. Like you need to get your reviews up so that you can raise your nightly rate. And so, like you're not really looking at your investment numbers on year one, right? It usually takes like 18 months to 2 years until, let's say you just buy a new property, even long term, and like this is what you're going through. You might have some hiccups in the first year, like some maintenance expenses that you didn't know about. I don't know, your hot water heater goes, you need new appliances, or like it's harder to get tenants in there. But after a year or 2 years, your numbers are gonna like average out, and that's gonna become more like your long term numbers, and that's okay that you're just seeing that. You know what I mean? Obviously, it wasn't ideal. I don't know how long you closed in like May, right? So you've had it vacant for like three to 4 months. But again, in 2 to 3 years, you're getting the college kids in there. And one thing that you touched on that makes it tricky is if you get a family in there and let's say they keep doing 12-month leases, it's really hard to like then switch to college because they're on a regimented 12-month lease cycle. It has to be from like August to August or May to May or whatever. So getting a family October to October makes it really hard to transition to college. So yeah, I mean, I like the idea. And then the thing that you haven't touched on, obviously, is it allows you to do what you want to do with the other property. So
Yeah,
what's the plan there?
yeah. So the other property, unfortunately, sometimes when you rent to college students, the kids don't necessarily leave the property in the best shape. We haven't had a ton of issues with that. We've had a lot of pretty decent kids and a lot of house when they move out, maybe we get it cleaned a little bit. This house was left in pretty bad shape, and it was a house that unfortunately at the time we had a pipe burst in it, and we used the pipe burst kind of to our advantage, and we took the insurance money and we were able to completely redo the kitchen and redo the walls and like fix the floors. And so this house that was a little bit older got completely facelifted and looks very, very nice. And then to have this nice rental now in a different part of the township that they don't really like having student rentals at, we're like, we don't want to keep this nice house and have it as a student rental anymore. We want to take the equity out of it and like let's sell it because it's going to be tough for it to make the most money as a rental with the township's limitations and how good of shape it was in. So TDJ was looking to sell this property, and then we already had these kids moving in there, and we're like, all right, we can't sell it because they're moving in, and we were going to have to hold it for another year. So now TDJ is pretty happy that we can put a couple dollars to fix the property up, but we're going to get it in like the best case scenario and get it listed. And we're hoping to, I believe, list it for roughly around 245 to 250. At this point, seems like rates might drop a little bit, and hopefully that helps house pricing go up a little bit as we're getting ready to list it. There's not a ton of 3 bed, 1.5 baths for sale in that area either. A lot of fours and a lot of twos, but it's got a decent amount of square footage. It's got a finished basement. It's got a bedroom in the basement, so it could be used as an office per se. It's got a lot of space, and we're definitely excited about going through the process of getting it fixed up and then getting to listed and putting that money elsewhere, kind of within our company. So it should work out really well. But yeah, like these are two massive things I've been sitting on. Like, A, we really want to sell this property. B, I needed tenants. I needed college students so that I could keep like the flow of this. And like even with the seasoning period, once I get college kids in there, it becomes a lot easier to get college kids in there the following year.
So two things. One of the main reasons you want to sell is because the township or the borough recently put new laws in place to renting to college kids, right? Like
Yeah,
you have
so
to
the township
apply for a
has
permit.
where I invest in Dallas, the township, Dallas Township has a law that you can't rent to 4 people blood related or less because then your house is considered a brothel. And because of that, it makes houses, even if you have a 6, 7 bedroom in the township, they'll make you kick the kids out. You're not allowed to rent to more than 4 people. Where the borough doesn't have those regulations, so it's a little bit easier to make some more money. If you have a 5 or 6 bedroom and you're getting $500 a bed, you make more money in the borough because you don't have to, you know, abide by those rules from the township. So I'm strategically trying to buy in the borough and get rid of properties in the township. On top of everything I just said, the township came out with even more strict rules about their college rentals, and they're in a tough spot because some people are buying these properties and they're investors from New York, and they're just coming in here buying a house, never seeing it, like either getting a crappy property manager or managing it from New York. The tenants are loud, they're leaving trash and garbage everywhere, and the properties aren't being maintained, and they're trying to call like the cops or trying to call the property manager or like talk to somebody, and the neighbors and the township can't get a hold of anybody. And so they're trying to clean it up and like just get more information from who the landlord is, who's the property manager, who's on call. So in a sense I respect what they're doing because you always want everybody to have some sort of power. Like, you don't want the kids to be causing havoc for the entire neighborhood, and so you want the neighbors to be able to know who to call so they can get issues handled. Um,
I
but
mean, yeah, but I hate to say it, but that's what you get when you decide to live a mile from a college. And like unfortunately, in a lot of these small college towns, the college is like 50% of the economy there. So like they're raising house prices. So the people that do own the house there, their property is worth a lot more because the college is there. And like I don't know, it to me it's just like
I'm
don't complain.
100% with I'm 100% with you. I just think that there needs to be some sort of rules and regulations in place. Like, because if not, everything's just a free for all, right? So I think you need some rules. I hate the four people or less rule. I don't think that makes a huge difference. Like, if you have a big enough house, you should be able to have as many people there that you want. So I agree with you for sure that you live next to a college. Like, there's so many benefits to being in that town. Like 100%.
All right, and then the other question that I had was you talked a lot about wanting to do a cash out refinance to pay for some of these expenses that TDJ had. So if you sell this property, are you gonna ignore that idea and use the sale of the property to pay for some of those expenses?
Yeah, our plan is still to. Sorry, the dogs were barking. I got distracted. We TDJ doesn't necessarily plan on doing the refinance at the moment because our property didn't appraise at the prices that we needed it to appraise at. However, we did just get a really good comp in the area. Um, the one of our townhomes that we were looking at refinancing, I think we got 195,000 on. The house in the neighborhood, like next door, just sold for 217. So that's a significant increase of $22,000, which is roughly where we thought it should be, compared to the appraisal that we got back. There's a chance that we do submit for new appraisals. They're roughly $500 each, and see if we can get some better numbers. If that's the case, maybe TDJ does look at doing it. But to your point, we don't necessarily need additional money once we go through and sell this house. That would kind of eliminate the need for having the money that we want, of like having a specific amount of reserves in the bank, and kind of getting us on a better foot moving forward and giving us some capital in case we wanted to purchase something else. So I think we would not lean towards the refi. Even when we talked about it, the refi, if you're only pulling out X amount of money, becomes less and less worth doing it. They're very advantageous when you can pull out a lot more money. And TDJ wasn't really at the spot where they could pull out a ton. And selling this property is going to be more beneficial for us.
And the one that you want to sell was not one of the ones that you were looking to refinance, right?
Correct. We did refi this one, I think, a year and a half ago,
Okay.
but it didn't appraise. It appraised well, but it appraised weird. They said that if we sold it, it would sell for 275, but if we used the appraisal, it would appraise for 245. So I've never seen an appraisal come back twofold like that. Like, usually it's just one
Yeah, that's
number.
crazy.
So that was very frustrating. It's like, wait, you said it was worth 275, and you know this, but we had a very bad process with refinancing. TDJ did. We went with the bank that gave us 245. A week later, we got another appraisal for 265. So we could have gotten a couple extra dollars if we held out and went with a different bank, but we just kind of pulled the trigger with what we got at that time.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like good news. So, when will the lease like switch and will they officially be under the new house?
So they're trying to move in as soon as possible. I think it's going to be this coming weekend. They wanted to get the appliances in there. They're going to be installed on Thursday. So they should be moving in this weekend. And then once they're in there, which is roughly like September 1st weekend, once they're in there, they're going to get the month of September free, and their first month's rent will be in October for October 1st.
Gotcha. Well,
So
seems like it all worked out, and hopefully by next year, the year after, you'll be getting the 2,500 that you originally planned on.
thank you. Yeah, I'm extremely excited about it, very relieved and grateful. And it's nice to have, like, you have some stress in real estate, but then once that can be satisfied. It's very nice just knowing that the property is going to move forward, and you live and learn, and like you're always learning in real estate. Like I bought a property that I thought was a good deal. I still think it was a good deal, but I gave the sellers a ton of power. And it worked out for me once before. I bought a property and gave the sellers a ton of power and bought the house 6, 7, 8 months later, and it lined up perfectly with getting, students in there. This time, you said we closed in May. The seller stayed there for 2 months. The house kind of smelled like them. It had all their old, not garbage, but all their old stuff in it, and it just didn't show great. And took a while to get it cleaned up, renovated, repainted, redo the cabinets, and once all that was done, it showed better. And yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. I know if I want to do projects, I got to start doing them now and get it ready for kids to see it in like February at the latest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people say that if you can hold a property for 10 years, no matter what, it is probably going to end up being a good deal. So, again, it's a long-term play, and yeah, it's all going to work out, and you'll probably be running it for 3,000 in 10 years.
Yeah. One other thing, well, I don't want to show too much of that, but we got our check. Was something in the seller financing deal that TDJ did. Just had a lot of back and forth with the tenant going through something and wasn't able to get us a lot of the rent. And it was a very different type of situation. Ty and I have talked about it a ton in the past, but he's finally caught up and everything is going smoothly. So I know it was probably against Ty. He would have evicted him 3 times already by now, but was very happy to kind of be the nice person that I always try to be. And at this point, it was getting a little bit, okay, we got to get something figured out, and it worked out right in the nick of time. So we're very happy and relieved to get that tenant caught up and everything.
Yeah, me and Tommy, I mean, it's interesting now that we're running the one property together, but we go about management a little different, to say the least. Like I really look at it as strictly a business, and like in some of the cases you have personal relationships with the people that you rent to, like this guy, and I think that can make it tough because, again, if somebody's late on rent, it to me it's a business, and like they signed a contract, they gave me their word, and when you throw a personal relationship in there, I think it can just make things a little sticky. But at the
With
end of
it,
the day,
it's
you got
been
all your
tough.
money,
I
and
don't enjoy doing personal relationship like that, at least that personal. Like I enjoy the football rentals and knowing the college students to like some extent. Like,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, that's not as direct as like having a relationship that I had with this gentleman. And that's why I think we were happy to sell it, because it became really tough to want to manage it and whatnot. So I think we were happy to sell it from that perspective.
Yeah. All right, well, that's awesome that you finally got all that. So it was a
Yeah,
large chunk of money.
I had a phenomenal week. I am like through the moon on, cloud nine, and very hype about real estate at the moment. Last thing, like I know we've talked a ton about, I'm still contemplating doing a refi on my end if rates are potentially going to drop. I think I might get an appraisal ordered here soon, just so I can, you see something on Zillow until your house is actually appraised, you really don't know what it is. So I think I'm going to take that step of just getting some appraisals ordered and seeing what they come back at. If they come back at a certain number, I might refi one property and potentially just get a HELOC on the other, something like that. So I'm keeping my options open, but that's where I think I'm at on my refinancing situation. And one thing I've really been contemplating is getting rid of my property manager. I know we've talked about it a ton. Ty's talked about it a ton, but just Sarah's in a different line of work right now, and she has a little bit extra time, and it's something we've always talked about, is like having her kind of help out, like putting both of us in group chats and like tag teaming if something comes up. And we have the contractor spreadsheet, and the time when I got a property manager, I had 4 properties, and I just moved to Florida. Now I'm down to 3, and they're all in one specific area, and I feel like it's a little bit easier to manage. So it's something I've just been debating back and forth, and I'm not sure. Like, at least for my 3, I could see me taking those back under my ownership, and yeah, that's something I've been been weighing, but it's always so tough. You want to grow out of the business so you're not managing it, but then it's like I make an extra couple bucks managing it, and it's not that difficult. So like, what point is it too much to man? I mean, you're still self managing, and like you probably don't want a property manager, right? Like when it's not when you set it up your way, like and you answer calls and texts so quickly and get things done, like it's almost less stress in my opinion. Sometimes with a property
Yeah, I mean,
manager, go ahead.
it. I just don't have enough to give away the 10% for a property manager, but I mean, I definitely want to. I think you are just still very involved, even though you have a property manager, which I don't think you should be as involved. So you still feel like, well, I'm already doing a lot of the work. I might as well save the money. But to your point, like, yeah, if you want to grow and you have with TDJ, like, I don't know, 9 or 10 properties or whatever, I forget, but it that is a lot to manage and think about growth at the same time. And I know you were running into that way before you ever got a property manager. You were constantly texting me like, I can't think about growth because I'm constantly thinking about management, and that's why you decided to get the property manager. But you, again, you are kind of still like you're in group chats with the tenants still. And like in my mind, if I'm hiring a property manager, I don't want any contact with the tenants at all. I don't want them to know my name. Like that's you know what I mean? I want them to go through the property manager. He only reaches out to me for bigger expenses, like over $300. You set it up that way. I mean, that's but again, your options are a little bit limited in that area, so it makes it a little bit tough. But yeah, I mean, I would love to get property manager. And when I move, if I move out of Maryland, which is the goal is to move down south, I'm not going to manage these properties from there. I'm either going to sell them all and restart in my backyard in North Carolina, or I'm going to hire a property manager. Probably hire the property manager. But yeah, I mean, hopefully I have more properties where the 10% makes sense at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, if rates drop a little bit and we can refi, that should get us better um, principal payments and maybe make properties cash flow slightly more. Granted, there might be pulling out some extra cash, which might eat into the cash flow a little bit. And I'm with you as far as trying to get somebody boots on the ground. Like at the time when I moved, I didn't really know anybody. Now we have Ian that's helping us out, and I'm like, well, that's huge to pay him, the 2% and have somebody boots on the ground. That really helps me feel a lot better, and then I can just handle all the other issues that I can remotely. And then finding good handymen. We went through a list of contractors that we put together, and you called Ernie, and he was able to help out and solve a problem for us pretty quickly. And once you get relationships like that, it becomes a lot easier to try to manage remotely.
Yeah, yeah, he's the man so far. He was like, I'm like, keep me on speed dial. I want to be your go-to guy. So, but anyway,
Yeah, it was
yeah, we
enough
can.
about me. Let's get into you. I know it's been a lot of just painting, but I saw some videos that Danielle sent. I saw she put that really cool TikTok together. That was pretty cool. But tell
Yeah.
me,
Well, one thing I wanted to say before I get into it is you keep saying rates are probably going to drop, and I think you're saying that because Friday, uh, Jerome Powell gave a speech that I didn't really watch it. At least I tuned in for a little bit. I didn't understand most of it, but I guess the sentiment is that he said he expects rates to drop pretty soon. So I don't know what that means, if it's a quarter or a 0.5%, but overall, I mean, again, for years, for the last 2 years, I think people's mindset is that rates are going to drop. So we are finally starting to see like the actual Fed say that, and the guy that makes that decision.
and I think one thing that was really different about this answer that he gave when he was speaking is typically the rates are driven off of certain parameters. And he now said that he's going to look at something completely different that he hasn't looked at in the past, which now that he's looking at that is going to help rates drop now and potentially keep rates lower for much longer than we've seen.
Yeah,
Because
I
he's
believe it's I again we're not economists, but I believe the two main driving factors in the federal rate fund are inflation and unemployment. And it's interesting. I believe higher rates help with unemployment, but when rates, or maybe it's vice versa. I think when rates drop, unemployment goes down because companies have more money to hire people. When rates are high, I think unemployment goes up. People can check that math. I don't know if that's correct, but yeah, I think inflation, which has, as far as I know, has been coming in pretty good for like the last couple months, and then unemployment, I'm not sure, but I believe those are two pretty big factors in the federal fund rate.
Yeah, either way, I'm happy that the word going around is that rates are going to drop because we do have some properties with some higher rates that would love to get refinanced out. And, plus, think the last year or so with rates being higher, like properties, not that you want, we were all spoiled during COVID and our properties appreciated by like 5, 10, 15% or whatever it was at certain times. Still, it's been a little bit more stagnant, I would say, like property
Yeah.
valuations. And so if rates drop, even just to get back to that standard 3%, that'll be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously very heavy area dependent. Like Florida has probably gone down in the last year. Definitely some areas are still going up, but yeah, I think things aren't appreciating at the rate that they normally do. But of course, because we just got like 25% appreciation in 3 years or 2 years, so like it's a correction that was kind of bound to happen. So
For
yeah,
sure. And I
but
mean,
anyway,
as long as they keep printing money at the end of the day, like you need assets and the assets are just going to go up in value because of that. Even if it's just a 3% rate of like, traditional real estate, once you factor in the inflation of them printing money. So, you know, David Green and Brandon Turner would talk about all the time. Once it really clicked for them that properties are just going to keep going up in value because of, the way that they're printing money, you just have to own more assets and it's always going to pay out for you.
yeah. But again, I'll just leave this topic with, don't buy real estate with the assumption that rates are going to drop. Buy real estate with the numbers working at current rates. And if rates drop, it's the cherry on top. And if they don't drop, you're not screwed. Because if you buy with the assumption that they're going to drop and they don't, they could go up. Like, yes, everybody thinks that they're going to go down, but they could go up, right? None of us truly know. So as long as the numbers work at the current rate, then you should be good. But yeah, so we're officially moving Labor Day weekend. So I ordered the U-Hauls, so it's official. I mean, I feel like part of me is like we've made so much progress in the last 3 weeks. Part of me is like we haven't even made a dent just because there's so much stuff to do. But we're pretty much almost done painting like the entire first floor. Um, we're kind of at the point now where we're doing like light fixtures and electrical outlets and doorknobs. So the painting's almost done. We still have some trim to do. I did quarter round yesterday. So I mean, I don't need to go into too much about like the renovations, but um, the one thought that I've been having is like I keep going back to Brandon Turner talking about how he was, under the house, and I brought that up last episode, and how like the, the thing that I struggle with is like, yes, things are super expensive, so then I just like do them myself. Like I replaced two toilets this week, right? And at a certain point there's so much to do that we need to move. Like we have to move so I can get this place rented out. We can't carry this on for 3 months, right? So I have to pay people to speed up the process. But then like I get a plumber and I'm like, how much would it be just to replace the toilet? I already bought the toilet. It's in the bathroom, the new one. Just take the old one off, put the new one on. He's like $300. And I'm like, all right, it'll take me an hour. I'm not like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not paying you $300. I can do it in an hour. Which also like plumbers don't charge $300 an hour. So I don't understand. And it would probably take him a half hour. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I'm constantly conflicted of like, what do you pay for versus doing it yourself. But I just keep thinking like if I would have spent all of this time Because I mean, I've been there 6 days a week. I'm like, we brought the guest bed, so I'm like sleeping there 3 days a week or 3 or 4 days a week, working from there. And then before and after work, I'm like working on the house. It's been a nightmare. But my thought process is like, if I spent that same exact time instead trying to find an off market deal or like wholesaling a deal or finding a flip, I could have made all of that money as an investor, to pay for all of those things instead. Like pay the plumber, pay the painter, paint, pay everybody to do what I've been doing, but gotten the skills in real estate. I don't know. I mean, that might sound stupid, but I feel like I should be spending my time elsewhere, and I don't know. It's just I feel like
Especially when you're doing a lot of projects. Like I remember one Saturday I tried to do the lanai screens, and this guy I think charges like 85 bucks a lanai screen. And it took me basically the entire day. So my entire Saturday I spent doing lanai. And I know you've done a ton more work, but I had a lot going on at that time, and like I needed to get some things figured out with my rental business. And I'm like, if I would have just spent 6 hours in my business, I'm sure I could have figured out how to save X amount of dollars and covered the expense of getting all those lanai screens done. And it's a constant struggle because as much as like one thing you think is worth it, like, hey, let me call this guy. The toilet's going to be a pain in the butt. Let me call him. And then you get the quote for 300 bucks. Like I find that prices have gone up. Like it used to be $100 or 150. Now that it's double, it's like, all right, well, shit, maybe I should do it. And like you're kind of like, what is that price point? And everything just seems more expensive that it makes it tougher to justify. And I think that's adding to the issues that you're having.
yeah, I mean, I just feel as though doing the work yourself, and maybe it's different because it's my primary, like I'm going to live there. So obviously once I live there, it's do a lot of stuff yourself on your free time. Like it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying like don't pick up a hammer in your entire life. If this was a rental property, it would be a lot different. Like I'd probably be paying somebody at this point, but I just feel like I struggle with having like the true growth mindset of like I'm going to look for deals for 20 hours a week instead of being a contractor for 20 hours a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whereas like in the short term, it's easier to just paint the house to save the 10 grand. But in the long term, putting in the 20 hours a week every week, again, as an investor, I think will help you scale quicker. So I just realized that like I'm kind of struggling with that because to be honest, since we closed, I've barely been on Zillow, which is crazy for me because I'm usually on Zillow like every single day. But like the whole investment side of me has just gone on pause, which again is not good. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself because it is a primary and we're gonna be there for a long time. So it's not like I'm gonna be doing this every year. But
yeah, I think you are being a little bit too hard on yourself, but it's also encouraging to see, like, while you're going through kind of the struggle of doing all this extra work, you're really, I think what you're saying the most is you're realizing where your time needs to be spent the most. And like we talked about this even with the podcast. We enjoy doing the podcast, we enjoy talking about real estate and trying to encourage other people to get into real estate. But we want to do more of a goal setting episode for us. And like, we spend more time on the podcast than we do searching for off market deals, together. And that's something that we both said we want to start doing more. We talked about doing it at the beginning of the podcast, is getting that out. And we haven't gotten to it yet, but we've consistently met, each week for an hour to 2 hours and talk about the podcast. And so I think ultimately you're really trying to say we need to spend more time actually just with our investor hat on, and you're
right.
finding where your time can be more valuable. Like, yeah, you can spend 8 hours a day painting, but and it's tough because you're not probably going to take that same 8 hours and go look at Zillow that entire time.
That's
But
what
you,
makes it that's what makes it weird is like because I have to get this stuff done to move, uh, I would not if I paid somebody and maybe this just means I'm not working 80 hours a week. I'm just not going to do that. But would I be looking at properties off market before work for 2 hours and then after work for 4 hours every single day for a month? Probably not. Like I'm just being honest, right? I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, I don't know. I
If
guess
you if you
really
can
what I'm
fine
saying is
tune
the
it
result.
for sure and get it down to like an hour or something and
Yeah,
like stick with it and be more consistent, I think that's where you want to be. And that's where they talk about like spending like you just spend 1 hour of trying to find, business related things where you can make more money. That's way more worth your time than spending 8 hours painting because one of those hours could have bought you a deal to cover for somebody to paint.
yeah. But I mean, this is definitely the last house that I paint. I absolutely hate it. It's like it's so annoying. I mean, it's come a long way. It looks really good. We ripped up all the carpet that had hardwood underneath. Like all of the downstairs walls are painted, so like everything's starting to come together. We're getting the new appliances next week. We're getting we're getting all the grout cleaned, which dude, it makes a huge difference. Like in our kitchen, pretty much all the grout, it's all white, but it's all basically black. And the guy came over to like test, like see if he could clean it to give us a quote, and just he just sprayed like one grout line, and it's like completely white. And so once we get all that cleaned, and then we're getting some of the hardwood cleaned, not all of it, but yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I'm going back on everything that I just said. I might end up doing like my own tile shower again, which I've done once. Said I was never going to do it again, but when you get a quote for 25,000, it it can kind of change your mind of whether you want to spend your weekends doing it. So we've pushed back the shower. We haven't even started yet. But and then I don't know if I brought this up, but the other shower, the guest shower, I thought that I had a leak there because somebody showered and then we painted the ceiling and like there was like brown. It looked to me like water spots like coming through the paint, and that's over the kitchen. And I was like, oh, there's for sure a leak. So I cut holes where the brown spots were, like in the drywall on the ceiling, and I turned the shower on. I just stared at the drain for like 20 minutes. Not a drop. I showered. I would every time I shower there, I'd come back down, look at the drain, like see if there's water on the floor because I cut the ceiling underneath the drain. Nothing. Like it's completely dry. So I don't know. I don't think there ever was a leak. I don't know if there was just like something brown, like an oily material on the ceiling itself and it's not
Yeah.
coming through. I don't know. So, I mean that was a savior. I hired a plumber. I set up a plumber to come out to take a look at it before I cut the hole in the ceiling and looked at it myself. So, I had already had it scheduled. I had him come out and I was like, "Yeah, dude, like I don't even think there is a leak." So, he goes down and he's just like looking all around my house for just stuff to do. He ends up writing me a quote for $9,000 for totally unrelated stuff to why I even called him out there. Like totally unrelated. He was like, "Oh, dude, you need to have this. You need to have this. This is wrong. This is wrong. It's 9 grand. Like, do you want to schedule it now?" And I was like, "Hold on, dude. I called you to replace a toilet and fix a leaking shower that's not leaking, and somehow I'm up to 9 grand and all this random stuff. So I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
everything's just super expensive. And I'm not saying that they're charging too much. One of it is materials. Like if you really break down a renovation, like let's just say it's 30 grand. Cause like Danielle's always like, that's just crazy. Like they're just charging you so much. It's like, well, one, and three contractors gave me the same price. And two, like let's just say you have a $30,000 bathroom. Materials might be 10 to 15. And if it takes them a month, okay, so let's say he has $15,000 profit, but now he's paying two guys a month's salary, right? Like when you really break it down and add all the expenses, the you're paying a guy or two a month's salary, and then so the owner, it's not like he's walking away with 15, 20,000, like he's walking away with I don't know 5 to 10, and materials. My whole point is materials are very expensive. So
Materials have definitely gone up, and they're one of the main culprits as to why jobs are getting more and more expensive. And then I think that
well, and
once
also
mate-
like the with inflation, it makes sense that people need to make more, right? So like your plumber in 2019, if he was making 60 an hour, with inflation now he should be making 80 to 90 an hour or whatever, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, wages go up, and to counter that, my wage has gone up, right? So like I have some more money to spend. Everything just goes up with inflation at the end of the day. Like everything goes up. So these
So buy
we're just hearing these
assets, they keep
prices that
going
are
up.
just nuts. What?
I said buy assets, they're going to keep going up.
Yeah. Um,
And on
but
top
yeah,
of that
that's
point, the last thing that I was going to say, like, I wonder if there's something with, say the plumber, for example, but he goes and sees the price of a toilet, right? He's been a plumber for 5 years, 20 years. And so he sees the price of a toilet went up from $50 to $100 to $150. And maybe his goal was like, hey, I charge whatever the toilet costs. So if the toilet was $50, I charge 50, it's 100. Now the toilet's 200, I charge 100. And now it's 400. Like maybe that's what's getting their prices going up, is that they see the cost of materials and then they say, well, if that's material costs, like then I'm going to charge X amount off of that.
yeah. I mean, pretty much everybody that I've talked to with the bathroom remodel, they're all like, and this is contractors and not just normal people that have gotten it. They're like, oh yeah, 25 grand is like standard if you want a tile shower with a glass wall and tile floor. Like it's 30, you could go up to 40 for a master bath these days. It's yeah, it's expensive. So I don't know. I might do at least some of it myself. I'm not gonna mess with like the plumbing. I'm gonna pay a plumber. Um, because it's on the second floor, and if it leaks, that's kind of a big deal. Whereas the shower that I did in my current house is on the basement, so if it leaked, it wasn't like the end of the world. But
I installed
yeah,
a bidet last week. I was very,
congratulations.
very happy. I'm not very handy, so screwing around with plumbing, that was like the most I've ever done. And I get done the first time and there's water leaking on the floor, like a slow drip, and then like that turns into like a massive amount of water in like 3 minutes. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me shut all this water off. And then I went and reinstalled it, and I guess I didn't install like one of the little washer valve, like the little black valve or whatever.
Like the rubber gasket.
Yeah. So then I put that in there, and then it didn't leak anymore. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess the last thing I have, yeah, we got a repair for our property. That was pretty easy now that we got a handyman. I feel a lot better now that we have like an actual guy on speed dial that wants to do these like little tasks. And he told me like he's getting a little older, so he's moving away from like big renovations, which is perfect because we have
that's
a guy for
exactly
that.
what we want. Yeah.
Right. We want a guy that's gonna replace a doorknob because college kids aren't gonna replace the doorknob. But and then I got a contractor coming over today for my current house to do some work. That's laying laminate over the basement since we got the basement like waterproof. So right now it's just concrete. And then I did get the sunroom roof replaced this weekend. So, dude, I'm not kidding. Three guys showed up at 3 p.m. and they were gone by 4:30. They took off the entire roof, replaced it. Now, there's a section that I'm not happy with at all. The siding, they like completely ripped it out, like ripped it, and it looks not great. And I think I'm going to be reaching out to the contractor about it. Now he subs out these guys. It's not his direct employees, but like I'm still going to tell him like I'm not very happy with how the siding looks because they like basically ruined it, and it's aluminum, so it like doesn't bend. I mean, it like dents and bends, right? So, and then we got there was lights in the roof, so those are getting they're gone now. It's just drywall. So yeah, a lot going on. But I'm a week away from officially moving, and once I'm there full time, everything will be a lot easier. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
I've
then
been
you can do
eating
smaller projects and like you can go to bed and like you can set up your office and like you'll have some normalcy. You'll still be doing small projects here and there, but at least you're living there. I mean, driving to another place 30 minutes away and then doing work and
40 to
drive.
45, so it's like an
Yeah.
hour and a half round trip.
Yeah, so an hour and a half round trip added to all the work that you're doing. It'll be a lot easier just waking up and like you can do like then you can leave something too. You can leave paint in a room and say I'm gonna get and I know you're basically done painting, but you can leave that bathroom, for example. All right, this is my project for the next 3, 4 weekends, but we can shower in the other two showers.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm really, really excited, and I'm not going to be, working on it before and after work every single day because we're almost done. But we wanted to get like the main living areas complete before we moved in because we didn't want to move our furniture in and then have to paint around it, right?
Yeah, I think
So
you made the right choice.
yeah, but
You reminded me, last thing before we wrap up here. The last house Sarah and I bought was timber, and I remember we did the same thing. We painted the entire house all by ourselves, and then we ripped up the carpet. And very similar situation to what you're referring to. And then we wanted to do the kitchen, and I'm like, oh, well, let's do the kitchen after. So we did a live-in kitchen remodel, which miserable. Those are the worst things to because then you can't even cook, and like you're just eating takeout. We gained like 10 pounds in a week.
yeah, I've just been eating like a child, like
Yeah.
just chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. It's
So
terrible. Like my whole routine is just gone.
yeah, and we had a very similar experience when we were at Timber, and we're like, we're never painting a house again. Fast forward to when we moved to Florida, we paid for our entire inside of our house to be painted before we moved down.
Great
So
decision. How much did that cost?
we had a very cheap labor. I want to say it was like 6,000 or so, and like two of that went to paint, so it really wasn't all that
Oh,
expensive.
so 2,500 square feet. Honestly, maybe we should have gotten quotes. We didn't even get them because I assumed it would have been like 10, but maybe we should have. I mean, we probably spent 1,500 on paint, maybe 1,000,
Yeah, and I
1,500 with
think paint is
material.
I think paint's something that's going to cost anybody that goes to paint anyway. But hey, you guys did it yourself. You did save a couple extra bucks there, and it's done. You got a lot of friends and family that helped you out. Maybe not enough. You probably wish you had even more help because you look
Dude, my
exhausted.
mom's been there like probably 40 hours. Like every other day she's calling me. She's like, "Hey, are you gonna be there tomorrow? I want to come help paint." I'm like, "Mom, like you don't have to. Like if you want to, I'm not gonna turn down the help, but you know,
Shout
she's
out
been
Judy.
great. She did the whole dining room, which had not only the most amount of wallpaper, but the biggest pain in the ass wallpaper that like literally wouldn't come off without renting the steamer. So she did all the wallpaper, painted the whole room. It needed two coats. There's these built-in shelves. She did the window trim, all the trims. So yeah, that's pretty much the extent. One day I show up, she's outside with her weed whacker. She cleaned up like the whole patio, the whole walkway. She's got all these big piles of brush. Now that's what she does like for her job, and like she's a gardener and a landscaper or whatever, so she enjoys it. But I'm like, Mom, like put the weed whacker down. Because like I'm like I'm gonna pay somebody to do that, and she's like, what? Like no, I'm gonna like I'll do it. And I'm like no, like I yeah, but yeah,
That's funny.
she's been great.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you got some support. Things will start getting much better once you get to move in. Then it'll be cool. You'll get the other property will start being rented out, which I'm sure you'll be thrilled about, and start getting that listed. So we'll probably talk next week about what that listing process is going to be like. And once you're in the new property, there's going to be like a new level of excitement that everything was worth it.
Yeah, and you'll be up in September to get to stay there.
Yeah, very excited. That wedding is coming so fast. I almost forgot to get fitted for my tux, and I just did it a week or so ago. So I'm all set. I think I got to book my tickets up for that, and then Sarah and I are apparently going to Greece right when we get back from that. So,
Yeah, that'll be fun. I We went to Greece. It was awesome. So, all right, yeah, we'll talk next week.
all right. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep, see you later.